Shepard Smith gave a very interesting interview to Christiane Amanpour the other day. Shepard Smith, former Fox News anchor, for a long time was like the sole voice of reason on Fox News. And when he was there, we wondered, does Shep understand what he's doing? Does he understand the context of crazy in which he is offering something that looks more like the news on Fox News Channel? And this interview he gave to Christiane Amanpour is fascinating, and it confirms that Shep Smith was very much aware of what he was doing there. And he said that a lot of his presence on Fox News was specifically to serve as a counterpoint to the wackiness of what we were seeing on Fox News. He called it injurious to society, what was happening there. And, this plays into our discussion about the future of right-wing media in the post-Trump era. Smith says in this interview that the falsehoods from his colleagues on Fox News eventually became too much to bear, but that his point was to inject reality. Take a look at this.
I thought it was important that I stay there because I knew that I was grounded in that philosophy and working toward that promise. And if you feel like the Fox viewers were getting mis or disinformation, I was there to make sure that they got it straight. There were a lot of others in there who were trying to do the same thing. But I thought to just abandon it and to deprive those viewers of, it wasn't just me, I mean, there's an entire team of people getting the news to the air, to deny them that with the thought that they might replace it with opinion instead seemed a little selfish.
This is actually very interesting. Staying at Fox News because if you leave, they replace you with someone worse. We applied that same thought to the Trump administration in many cases. We said, Fauci clearly is disgusted with what's going on. But if he quits and they replace him with someone even worse, is the country better off or worse off? And that's the exact analysis that Shep says he was doing when at Fox News. Christiane Amanpour then asks whether Shep Smith accepts that Fox perpetuates division and perpetuates lies. And Shep gives a very interesting answer. I want to play the entire thing for you.
And I don't know, you can be proud of what you did, but I wonder whether you also feel, now that you're at CNBC, you see how a whole different ecosystem works, whether you accept that Fox News in the opinion sphere and, in other Rupert Murdoch enterprises, perpetuated so many of the divisions, the lies, the conspiracies, the support. Look at Sean Hannity going up and, doing campaign rallies for President Trump. So blurring the lines as to be the propaganda arm of the Republican Party. I just wonder what you think about that now.
Well, I feel the same way about that now that I did then. And my goal was to just keep the blinders on and do my job to the best of my ability. And I'm always concerned when people opine all you like. But if you're going to opine, begin with the truth and opine from there. And it's that deviation from that has caused me the greatest concern. And I believe that when people begin with a false premise and lead people astray, that's injurious to society. And it's the antithesis of what we should be doing. Those of us who are so honored and grateful to have a platform of influence have to use it for the public good. And I slept very well. I don't know how some people sleep at night, because I know that there are a lot of people who have propagated the lies and have pushed them forward over and over again, who are smart enough and educated enough to know better. And I hope that at some point, those who have done us harm as a nation, and I might even add as a world, will look around and realize what they've done. But I'm not holding my breath.
So that's a really interesting interview. And from the outside, we didn't know what Shep's perception was of what he was doing. And some say Shep was still bad because he was on a network generating them profits, which were then funneled into continuing the disinformation. And I sympathize with that. Shep was a cog in the wheel. And you could even make the case that Shep provided cover to Fox News. You could say Shep being there 1 hour a day, 5 days a week, provided cover to Fox to say, no, we have all sorts of different perspectives. But the reality is, Fox would exist either way. And if you want to say, are we better off with Fox having 1 hour of Shep Smith versus 0, or replacing Shep with someone worse? Yeah, I mean, Shep knew what Fox was every time he was cashing the checks. And I don't know what that means if Shep's goal was to provide a counter narrative, which he did. He could have left earlier and gotten the same paycheck elsewhere. And in fact, now he's getting the paycheck at CNBC. It's not that clear to me that Shep did something wrong by staying when he was providing a counterpoint. Now, another perspective is he should be credited for remaining true to his role despite so many people around him at Fox News selling themselves out, and that his responsibility was to stay as long as possible. And for as long as Fox would allow him to stay and not fire him, which they ultimately didn't. Ultimately, he quit, although maybe he was pressured. We don't know. He's doing a good thing. And I can sympathize with different perspectives on this, but I think much like with the Fauci example, if Fauci quit when Trump talked about injecting bleach and started attacking Fauci publicly, if Fauci quits, then he's replaced with someone that is probably going to do far more damage and probably lead to even more deaths than we've already seen during the coronavirus pandemic. So Fauci stayed, and it was probably the right thing to do. Much the same way, I think on balance, we are better off that Shep stayed longer rather than leaving and being replaced with, imagine if Shep leaves a year and a half ago or whenever it was, and they replace him with Maria Bartiromo. The country's worse off. There's no question about it. So I'm curious to hear your thoughts on that. You can find me on Twitter at @Pakman, and we have a fantastic Friday show planned for you today. One of our sponsors today is Nebbia, the creator of the world's most innovative showerhead. It uses only about half the water that other showerheads do, saving you money, helping the environment, but it's actually a lot more powerful than other showerheads on the market. It has twice the coverage of other showerheads. The water sprays with a ton of pressure. I've been using it in my bathroom at home. I love it. Only took a few minutes to set up, really easy, and it's been a totally different experience than any other showerhead I've used. I can get in and out of the shower way quicker now because of how powerful it is. It only takes a few seconds to get completely rinsed off. So I was actually amazed that it's only using about half as much water. Nebbia also offers a number of shower accessories like shelves and curtains, which match perfectly with the design of the showerhead. The showerhead starts at just $199, but the first 100 people who go to Nebbia.com/Pakman and use code Pakman will get 15% off all Nebbia products. The link is underneath this video.